8 years isn't enough. This was a premeditated attack, a premeditated attempt to essentially kill another man. There's hours of footage, or like an hour of footage anyway. There's lots of footage of him talking about how he's going to do it. And, you know, tons of footage after it was done, him showing zero remorse for it. The only remorse he shows is after he calms down, the adrenaline subsides, and he realizes he just committed a serious crime. Not because he hurt a guy, but because he knows this could seriously affect his fighting career, the amount of money he could make in the future, that he could potentially do jail time. That's not remorse. Roger Jackson is a bitchy little man child, and he deserves a hell of a lot more than 8 years in prison for this. This is not felony battery, in my opinion. This is attempted murder, and I would have charged him with that. I would have done one of those. Maybe they can't do this in California. I'm not sure about California's like legal code, but maybe they can't do this. But there are other states where you can charge two separate crimes. Felony battery, attempted, attempted murder, and then felony battery. Then present the case at court, and then let the jury decide which count he's actually guilty of. Yeah, shout out to TMZ. I can't believe I'm actually saying that, but they're the ones who covered this story, surprisingly enough. Or the first ones I saw that covered the story. Yep. Roger Jackson charged with felony battery over the Psycho attack, Psycho Stu. Facing up to 7.5 years behind bars. And then, of course, he probably won't do all that time. California is really soft on criminals, especially minority criminals. Even though he's the son of a wealthy, former world superstar MMA fighter. But also he's black, so he'll get away with murder in the state of California. We'll see what happens, though. I mean, it took him a long time to arrest him, so why should we assume that the courts are going to actually put him in jail or put him in prison for the appropriate amount of time to go along with the crime he committed? Because again, this was not something he did in the heat of the moment. Him and Stu, if something like this happened after Stu, right after Stu hit him with the beer can, then we could have like a conversation about what to charge this with, or if he even committed a crime, or if he had reason to believe that he was under attack and then he needed to you know defend himself, whatever. That's not what he did. Psycho Stu didn't even hurt him. He admitted it didn't hurt him. The beer can was empty, and they often do stuff like that to use as props in pro wrestling. It was a misunderstanding. Stu thought he was a worker. This was explained to him by not only Stu himself, but also Black Pearl and AJ Mana. They took the time to explain it to him. Then AJ Mana and Black Pearl both encouraged him to get his receipt, so told him, hit him in the ring. And then he had 2 hours between the initial incident. Oh, also, he accepted Stu's apology 3 times and then shook his hand, causing Stu to let his guard down, thinking everything was okay. Then he was encouraged by Black Pearl and AJ Mana. Those are the wrestling names. I don't know their real names. I did, but I've since forgotten them. But he was encouraged by both these guys to get his receipt in the ring, and then 2 hours later, he tried to kill him. So he had plenty of time to think about what he was doing. And, and then he gets on his little stream with his, audience of 13-year-old little, fagoids. And they, basically, gassed him up and pissed him off. His dad called him on the phone and told him he was gay and called him a bitch. And, and then he said that Crash Out's not fake, and you see what I'm going to do to him. He planned this. And if the kid in the face paint and Doug Mallow, the Epic, if they hadn't pulled Raja off, Raja would have killed him. That's attempted murder. So, but again, California. Roger Jackson has been hit with multiple criminal charges, including one felony over his violent attack on Psycho Stu earlier this summer. Court records TMZ has obtained show Quentin Rampage Jackson's son was formally charged in Los Angeles County on Tuesday with one felony count of battery with great bodily injury and one misdemeanor count of battery on a person. Raja, who's facing up to 7 years behind bars if convicted on the felony count and 6 additional months if convicted on the misdemeanor, is due in court for the arraignment later this week. The charges stem from August 23rd when Raja got into the ring with Knox Pro at a Knox Pro wrestling event and beat the hell out of Psycho Stu, real name Stuart Smith. Yeah, and by all accounts, Stu is a good guy and everybody loves him, and he's a U.S. veteran. He didn't deserve what he got. It was just a misunderstanding. Raja admits it didn't even he didn't even hurt him. Like it was he popped him with an empty beer can. It was just a misunderstanding. It was a work. Nobody got hurt. The only thing that got hurt is Roger Jackson's little, bitch made ego, got ruffled a little bit. He got a little sand in his vagina, and in, true 1350 fashion, he decided that he needed to escalate the situation from a simple misunderstanding to I'm gonna fucking kill this man. Jackson, who had gotten into an altercation with the wrestler just prior to the event, knocked Stu unconscious before unleashing a flurry of punches on his face. Stu was hospitalized for several days over injuries he sustained during the incident. Raja was not immediately taken into custody, though on September 18th, police served a warrant at his Orange County home and arrested him. Think about that. It happened on August 23rd. He wasn't arrested until September 18th. All right, that's 5 days later. So that's 5 days short of a full month. So 3 weeks later, they finally arrested him. Pathetic. But I expect nothing less from, California, California cops, especially the LAPD or Orange County, whatever. Orange, I guess. I'm not sure what county LA, if it was Los Angeles or OCPD or Orange County sheriffs. I don't know who would have served the warrant and made the arrest in this case, but yeah, pathetic. And then of course, Rampage has been kind of spiraling out over this, going back and forth between my son didn't do nothing wrong to he made a simple mistake to Psycho Stu was a drunk and kind of deserved it to I think my son should go to jail. He can't make up his mind where he stands on this. He even said at one point that he hasn't spoken to his son since the incident. So just Rampage, it's all of this has kind of shed a light on how bad of a father Rampage Jackson actually is. He turns out he's a shitty parent, an incredibly shitty parent.
Fuck all that. Roger, I think that he should do a little time, do a little community service, and go to anger management class, see some therapy.
But that goes like some people said it was attempted murder and things like that. That's not a little time.
It wasn't attempted murder because he wasn't trying to kill that guy.
How do you know?
I don't know, Rampage. Punching a guy in the face, 20 times while he's already after you've already knocked him unconscious. That feels a little murdery to me, especially when it took 2 guys to pull you off of him. Like meaning that if you hadn't been pulled off, you would have kept going and probably beat a man to death. So.
Because that's my son. I know my son. Roger wasn't trying to kill nobody. He wasn't trying to kill that. He wasn't trying to kill that guy. Roger probably didn't even know how bad he hurt that guy. He wasn't trying to kill that guy. The problem.
That's a complete crock of shit. The idea that a trained fighter doesn't know the potential amount of damage he can do punching a man who's already unconscious over and over and over and over again. I don't buy that for a second.
Problem is everything got blown out of proportion, and people thought that Roger snuck into the fucking ring and did that. That's what the problem is. Like at this point, Roger was in the act as a pro wrestler, but he ain't no fucking pro wrestler. The promoters had no reason putting my son in that fucking ring. So, but it was no attempted fucking murder.
It was to me. and it was to everybody else. And maybe a small handful of stupid people thought that he just snuck into the ring and did it at random, but I've not seen that case made by anybody criticizing Roger Jackson over this. Not one person has made that case. Not one. Right? I haven't seen that, you know, I haven't seen that at all. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm saying I never saw it. And pretty much it's been consistent across the board that, like, he didn't sneak into the ring. Everybody saw the footage of Black Pearl telling him he's going to get in this ring and get his receipt, and the footage of AJ Mona telling him to get in the ring and get his receipt. And the fact that he sat there ringside for over an hour, and the fact that whenever he jumped in the ring, Psycho Stu basically just jumped into Raja's arms for the slam because he knew that him and Raja were going to work together that night after the misunderstanding, and that he was going to get like maybe one or two, you know, to get the receipt and everything was going to be cool. But that's ended up not being what happened. So I do think it was attempted murder. I think that he should do a lot more time than just 8 years. Rampage is a bad father, and Roger Jackson is a little bitch. Raja has yet to publicly address the matter, but his famous father has said the 25-year-old should spend time behind bars for his actions. So, well, good for you. That's you know, good. Like, I'm proud of Rampage for trying to do a little bit of damage control and realizing that he said some stupid ass shit and that he needs to kind of walk a lot of that back. Yeah, no, in Rampage, for as beloved as he is by the combat sports community, like he's at least in the circles I run in, a lot of people just basically been dunking on him at this point. Realize that yeah, he's a bad parent, and that he just as much, if not more so, responsible for gassing up his son to do this than his audience of his kick audience was. Like, obviously, he didn't tell him go in there and try to beat that man to death, so he's not legally culpable. But like years of psychological abuse of you constantly telling your son he's a bitch and telling him he's gay and telling him he's weak, and if he's doing it to him when he's 25, the dynamic of the videos I've seen him and Raja have together, he's been doing this to Raja his entire life. He put a massive, massive, massive inferiority complex onto this kid, and finally it exploded, and Psycho Stu was the one who had to absorb that damage, and it's unfortunate. Rampage Jackson, in his own way, is incredibly responsible for this entire shit show. He's a bad parent, and he deserves all the criticism he's gotten from this. Also, again, and I've said this before, but Roger Jackson should never be allowed to fight again, ever. You know, this isn't like when Mike Perry knocked out that guy who tried to fight him outside of that bar, and I think it was in Florida, and Mike Perry knocked him out. That dude walked up to Mike Perry, got in his face, was talking shit to him, and that's one thing. And also, Mike hit him one time and walked away. This isn't like whenever, what's his name, Kurt Schilling, the kickboxer. Again, the guy was being belligerent and obnoxious at the bar, got in Kurt Schilling's face, flinched at him like he was going to do something, and then Kurt knocked him the fuck out. Pretty sure it was Kurt Schilling. But I think you all saw the video. The kickboxer, again, I think it might have been Kurt Schilling, can't remember exactly. But through the quick, like, 1-2, and knocked the dude out cold. It's just like you got in his face, you got in his personal space, and then you flinched at him to try to make him flinch. That quick, like, jerk. Like, a lot of people do that to each other. Like, I'm not really going to hit you, but I'm going to make you think I'm going to hit you to get you to flinch. And when you flinch, I'm going to call you a bitch about it. Well, he just happened to do it to one of the most dangerous kickboxers in the world and got knocked the fuck out for it. And then again, hit him once, in this case twice. It was a 1-2. But hit him twice and then walked away from the situation because the situation was over. But this is not what Roger Jackson did. Yeah, no, this whole situation sucks, and Roger Jackson deserves to be in prison for longer than 8 years, and I think I've said that like 5 times in this video. And Rampage Jackson should 100% feel bad. He should feel like he really needs to reassess the way he's handled raising all of his kids, and if any of his other kids are adults now, he needs to probably sit down and talk with them and apologize to them for how bad of a parent he is. And if he has any kids who are younger than 18 that he's still raising, and from what I understand, he does raise all his kids, so he's not being like a shitty absentee father. But he probably needs to reassess his parenting style. But yeah, let me know what you think. Be sure to comment and like. And if you're not subbed, sub. and keep an eye out for more videos in the future, and then keep an eye out for the video game streams over on Clown World Gaming. Yeah, and throw me a quick 1-2 combination, but please don't try to beat me to death.